All right, welcome back to Backcountry Chef, episode 4? Excellent. Okay, so today we're gonna do something real special for you. Now this meal you might think is a breakfast meal, but when in the backcountry, this meal is delicious anytime. What is the meal, you ask? Well, it comes in a carton. Hashbrowns. All right, so the ingredients for this meal include hash browns from a carton, Costco special, really good buy. See how lightweight these are? Another very important ingredient is oil. So even in the backcountry, we actually bring oil specifically for this meal because these bad boys are a lot better when they're crispy, okay? Another ingredient that we're actually not gonna put in our little cook-off today is cheese. But when we go on backpacking trips with Billings, we always bring shredded cheese and we stir it up into there and it makes this like sticky, gooey, viscous, delicious hash browns. We also usually bring a little hot sauce, makes things a little better, maybe some ketchup. Well, we don't bring ketchup, but you could bring ketchup. And the last but very most important ingredient in this meal is boiling hot water, okay? You actually can put not boiling hot water in these, but if you're in the backcountry, remember, you're always boiling your water to make it safe to drink. All right, those are the ingredients.
What's up, guys? We're gonna make our hash browns. You saw the ingredients from Maya. What we have right now is our boxes of Idaho spuds. They are filled with water, boiling hot water, and we do this because the directions tell us to. And on the side of this box it says, fill carton to fill line, okay? We fill it up to fill line. Then we close carton and let stand for 12 minutes, all right? It has been 12 minutes and we are good to go. So this is actually like the only tricky step. You just let it sit for 12 minutes. If you're going around, you fill these up and then you forget about them and it's been 15 minutes, not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. So, Maya, you're getting your stove hot.
Wow.
That was just 100% of my oil that I spilled all over myself. That's going to be
100%.
not quite 100% actually. So that's going to be a bit of a disadvantage for your boy, but that's going to be okay.
A little refill?
No. I'll work with what I have. These are the ingredients. In the backcountry, if I spilled my oil, what would happen?
You would lick that oil.
I would lick the oil right off my knee. Okay. Maya, what do you think about hash browns? Is this a good meal? Is this a bad meal?
To be quite honest with you, Bert, I think hash browns are probably my favorite meal. Actually not probably, definitely my favorite Billings meal in the backcountry because they taste just like home hash browns or restaurant hash browns. They're insanely good given that they come in this little carton. And you can add like bacon bits, you can add a little hot sauce, you can make them for dinner and add a little extra cheese or wind. But yeah, so these are probably my favorite backcountry meal ever. What do you think?
I agree. I think that this meal is like, you know, after you've had, so let's say you're out on day 2 of the coast and you know, you've hiked really far the second day, because the second day is often the biggest day of these trips, or, you know, one of the biggest days. And the night before you eat this big meal of swimmin' rama, and maybe it doesn't taste so good. You can ask Kai Abrahamson, who made a big batch of swimming rama for himself and his family. His family took one look at it and said, no, I don't think so. And then Kai proceeded to eat the whole thing and then get really, really sick. Thank you, Kai. But yeah, so you didn't eat that much of your swimming rama. This meal comes around and you are gonna be in heaven. It is like crispy. It is crappie. It is crispy crappie, folks. This is what hash browns is, and we love it. There's a lot of ways you can kind of style on this meal too, you know?
Absolutely.
Like bacon bits we often have lying around, and Maya has like perfected pop the bacon bits in the pan, and
crispy crappie up those bacon bits, and then add the hash browns and make them extra crispy crappie.
Exactly. So you're adding yours in right now?
I think I'm gonna, so I add a little oil, as you can see, which is a luxury we allow ourselves when we cook hash browns in the backcountry. It's nice and hot, so I'm gonna go ahead and start throwing on some hash browns. Again, with any cooking, you kind of don't want to be on your highest heat possible, which is kind of a challenge for old Rob there, because he doesn't really have an option. But I have put my stove on about as low as I can, which is still pretty darn hot. But I'm going to try to get all this out, and I'm actually going to just let my hash browns sit on the stove or sit on the pan for long enough to hopefully get a little bit brown, okay? So you actually, well, for me at least, I actually want to feel like they might be getting close to getting burnt, because once they get brown, they're really good.
Yeah, so Maya's a big proponent of the like let one side go and then do like 2 or 3 flips and go. I'm a big fan of the just sort of mix it all up. You know, I think that that is often a good technique. And just like last, what's that?
When you're making gruel.
When you're making a delicious hash brown, just like you would get in a Denny's or an IHOP or an insert your preferred diner. Prison. If you have delicious hash browns and a skilled chef, yes, theoretically that could work. So a big key to this, folks, is oil.
It is. Would you like a little more?
No, I think I have plenty. The oil definitely makes this meal, and any entrepreneuring student on a Billings trip will know that, like, basically you want to use as much oil as you can possibly get away with here.
Without using all the oil for the rest of your trip.
Right.
That's important.
Exactly. So usually, you're probably, how many times are you having hash brown on a trip? On the summer backpacking trip, it's like 3 times. 5 times. So you have to be really cautious. But on the coast, maybe you're having hash browns twice. So you got to make sure that you're judicious, at least with your oil. So this is a competition, folks, as you may know, and I hope you know. Last week, we got some surprising.
We're not talking about that.
We got some really nice results. It seemed like my swim-in Rama with the slurp was certainly a crowd favorite, and I won. So that puts us at a 1-1, and game to 2 as it currently stands. So ideally, oh boy, I'm burning on the bottom here. I can't even finish my thought. I'm gonna have to deal with this.
Want to keep talking? Maybe
No.
All right, so I'm going to start talking here because I'm not burning. So you'll notice that I have not been stirring quite as much as old Rob here. And what I am seeing is that every time I sort of, slide my spatula in there and kind of push along the bottom, I get a little bit of resistance, but then it comes up pretty quickly. So there's like a tiny little burn, but then it comes up pretty quickly. And what I'm seeing when I do a little flip, is pretty nice. Oops, I just missed. But I'm actually going to try to show you and probably fail as always.
We'll learn from our mistakes from last time. Hold it low.
Hold it low. Okay, so that's kind of the brown that I'm getting. I'm going to try to get that amount of brown on kind of all of it.
So this reminds me of a time, Maya, when a young man named Morris Lump was working as a diner employee in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Now Morris Lump was kind of an interesting guy. His mother always said, life is like a bag of oranges, you pretty much know what you're gonna get. And, Morris grew up with, he had some issues, he had a physical issue, which was that he had a giant big toe. His left big toe was abnormally large. And I'm not saying like just sort of slightly abnormally large. I mean, it was like a balloon, or a beach ball. Bigger than a volleyball, smaller than a globe.
I think that's like the same size.
Yeah, that's roughly the same size. Bad analogy, forget that, strike that from the record. In any case, he had this giant toe, and as a result, he had to wear clown shoes every day. And he wore one clown shoe at first, and that looked really weird because he had like a regular shoe on his right foot, clown shoe on the left, and people were like, what the heck? So then he just started wearing 2 clown shoes, which did not curry him favor with like the young elementary school crowd of Mobile, Alabama, where he was born. He only had one friend, and that.
From Maryland?
No. Sorry, I've jumped back in
Okay.
time. He was from Alabama, cooked hash browns in a diner in Maryland for a
Gotcha,
while.
gotcha.
But his youngest friend, his only friend growing up, was a young lass named Penny. And one day, Morris and Penny were walking along. Morris, obviously, with his thundering footsteps because of his giant toe. Oh my God, the leaves are falling into my hash browns. And Morris was walking along, and he says, and these bullies show up on their Razor scooters, and they start chasing him down. Think of the scooter that Chris has. Chris, 8th grade Chris, who rolls around on that thing. And which is one of his 10 essentials. Thank you, Chris. And he, the bullies start coming and they start throwing chewed bubble gum at Morris. And Penny, with the immortal saying, said, "Run, Morris, run."
Run.
And boy, did he run. He ran so fast and so hard that he outpaced those scooterers. And as he ran, the giant toe actually popped, and this giant puddle of liquid oozed just as the oil oozes down my leg that I spilled all over myself, and his toe went back to normal. And that was just the beginning of Morris, but years later, to skip around a little bit, Morris ended up working in a diner in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Now, Gaithersburg is not too far from Washington, D.C. And Morris was flipping hash browns at the time, and the current president, the president of that era, James Carter, was hankering for a good old-fashioned American breakfast, which is like a couple eggs, hash browns,
Piece of toast,
maybe a piece
bacon.
of toast, endless coffee, kind of, grape jelly, of course, and Morris happened to be in the kitchen. President Carter orders his breakfast. Morris has no idea, and he cooks it up. And Carter eats it. He takes one bite. He looks to his Secret Service. He's like, "You gotta try this." He's like, "This reminds me of back home in Georgia." And the Secret Service agent's like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best hash browns I have ever eaten." The rest of the food, like the eggs, were horribly undercooked. The bacon was just plain raw, and the toast was burnt to a crisp, but the hash browns were magnificent. And Carter's like, "I need to talk to your chef." And so Morris saunters out. He's always had a bit of a limp after the toe injury, but he saunters out and he's like, "How can I help you?" And he's like, "I'd like you to come and work in the White House." So here's a lesson for you all. Cooking hash browns on a Billings strip could be a one-way ticket to the White House. That's for you, Evan.
That was a good one. Did you hear that, Evan? Little shout out for Sel. All right.
How you doing, Maya?
I'm actually doing quite well. So my hash browns are decidedly brown. We got a few like little stringles that are still kind of white. Yeah, a little stringle. But most
Wait. What's the terminology there?
stringle.
For the record, that's a stringlet.
It's a single string of hash browns. But most of my stringles are either a nice golden brown or even maybe a little bit dark brown. How are you doing over there? Woo.
Yeah, I'm doing really well. I got lots of stringles and I have plenty of oil, so it looks really good. I'll show you, don't worry.
We actually, while we cook, which is going to take another, 30 seconds or so, there's another pretty good story of hash browns, which involves running out of fuel on a trip and having to eat those hash browns raw. Well, we added the water, but then we basically ate them raw, directly out of a carton. They're not nearly as good that way. You remember that?
Yeah, they could be worse, too.
They could be
Like, there are worse things we eat.
Yes.
Like, I still remember, like, kind of enjoying them, especially with a little hot sauce.
Yeah, the hot sauce makes and breaks.
Tabasco, folks, a wonderful ingredient on these chips. Wouldn't you say, Maya?
Yes, absolutely. Turns a normal into an extra normal. I think I was going for ordinary into extraordinary, but
Normal to extra normal. It's kind of the same idea.
it's exactly the same idea. Ooh, yeah, okay, we're getting a little, ooh, crispy crappie. We still going?
We're still live. All right, folks. So here, I'll wait a second.
I'm real close. I could do one last little.
Just disregard the fact that I'm like staring longingly at Maya's sunflower oil. I wonder if
You
I
are
could drip
welcome
a
to
little
have
off
some.
of my knee. It's not sweat. It's just oil that is covering my body now.
You sure?
Yes.
All right, I'll say this is looking pretty good. I'm actually.
You're gonna call it? I'll call it too. Why don't you go up, show the crowd.
Why are you not closing? Ooh, I've dripped a lot. A little bit. Okay. Why will you not come up? I'm gonna have to. Oh, it's turn. Okay. Do one more little turn. Oh yeah. All right. So here, folks, we have some extraordinary, extra normal hash browns. So you see, oh, you got a couple little like bits there that are super crispy crappy. You know you're gonna bite into that and just crunch. Nom, nom, nom. We got a little tiny bit of burn there, so I will acknowledge a little bit of an error. But for the most part, it's a motley crew of sort of pale stringles and brown stringles, and they're pretty delicious looking. So vote for Maya.
Maya, I must applaud your commitment to your terminology. It's wonderful. All right, so here's what I have, folks. What I have is kind of a specialty of mine. This is hash browns, folks. This is as good as it could possibly get. Sure, is it as crispy as Maya's? No. Is it drier than Maya's? Yes. Am I proud of it? Yes. I don't have many words. I think this is what I would call okay. I think this is perfectly okay, and sometimes on a trip, folks, okay is all you need. So I think that this is about as good as I can do. I'm not admitting defeat right now. I still think you should vote for me. But looking at Maya's, there's something to be desired left with mine, I would say.
Just like another little peek here.
I don't want to look. Okay, I'm going to need to stop my phone. Please vote for who do you think best. And the challenge to you is a cooking challenge as well. So
We're doing that right now? Yes. Okay. Your challenge, what's your challenge?
is to cook the ideal breakfast. Okay, we want not pancakes, because we've already done 7th graders. You can't do pancakes because you've already learned from the master. Don't forget having the mug and the towel. But boy, do I wish I had a towel. My hands are so oily. The masterful breakfast. If you can do hash browns, great. If it's eggs, wonderful.
Maybe some French toast. You can do some waffles, bacon, sausage, fruit.
All the above. Arranged
The
as
works.
beautifully as you can. Again, any great videos you can send along to us. Wonderful photos. Wonderful. We really appreciate all the input we've been getting. Okay, vote for Rob. Perfectly okay.